There's a weapon humanity created, lost, and still hasn't managed to properly recreate. And we've been to the moon, by the way. Welcome. I'm the Traveler, and today we're talking about Damascus steel, a material so advanced that medieval warriors called it a gift from the gods, which, let's be honest, is a very dramatic way of saying this thing is too good to be real. The blades had a wavy pattern on the surface, like water frozen inside metal, and that pattern wasn't decorative. The sword was at the same time incredibly hard and extremely flexible. Yes, both at the same time, without picking one or the other. To understand why this was impossible, you need to understand the basic problem with steel. When you harden steel, it becomes brittle. When you make it flexible, it loses its edge. It's a trade-off, always has been. Material scientists call this the hardness-toughness compromise. Damascus steel simply ignored that compromise. Historical accounts describe blades cutting silk scarves tossed into the air, which, to be fair, is a very fancy quality test, and then bending 90 degrees without breaking. German researchers discovered in 2006 the reason: the original swords contained carbon nanotubes inside the metal structure. Carbon nanotubes, a technology that took modern engineering decades to learn to produce, and medieval craftsmen were doing it with charcoal and a hammer, with absolutely no idea what they were making. But where did this material actually come from? Damascus steel was forged using a raw material called Wootz steel, produced exclusively in India, in what is now Sri Lanka and Andhra Pradesh. The ingots crossed the entire medieval world, from India to Persia, from Persia to Damascus, from Damascus to the Arab world, and eventually to Europe. Damascus wasn't where the steel was born. It's where the steel learned how to behave. Syrian master smiths took a rough Indian ingot and turned it into art, with patterns that even today haven't been fully explained. And it was precisely along that route that he found the sword. Tamerlane, Timur the Lame, the conqueror who, between 1370 and 1405, built one of the largest empires in history. The numbers are comfortable? No. The numbers are absolutely disturbing. 17 million people killed across his campaigns, 5% of the world's population at the time. He built towers out of the skulls of his enemies, kept detailed records. He was, let's say, remarkably organized by medieval barbarian standards. And the favorite weapon of his elite warriors? The Damascus steel sword, crafted by master smiths he conquered and forced to work for him. But there was one specific moment when this sword changed Western history in a way most people never learned in school. July 20th, 1402, the Battle of Ankara. On one side, Tamerlane and his army, armed with Damascus blades. On the other, Bayezid I, the Ottoman Sultan, the man who was weeks away from taking Constantinople. Yes, the Ottoman Empire was about to take Constantinople 50 years before it actually did. Tamerlane attacked. The battle lasted less than a day. Bayezid was captured. The siege of Constantinople was abandoned. The Christian city survived for another 51 years. Medieval Europe bought half a century of breathing room because one man had better swords than the other. Not brilliant strategy, not diplomacy, metallurgy. And here's the part history forgot to resolve. Around 1750, the production of Damascus steel swords simply stopped. No footnote, no farewell ceremony. The knowledge just walked out the door like it was going to buy milk. No craftsman left complete instructions. The Wootz steel trade routes fragmented. The last masters died without passing on the process. In 2006, researchers at the University of Dresden analyzed an original sword under an electron microscope and found carbon nanotubes and cementite nanowires woven into its structure. Structures that modern nanotechnology took decades to learn to produce artificially, and medieval craftsmen were doing it accidentally, as a side effect of a technique they couldn't even explain themselves. So what's the real lesson here? Not Damascus steel was good. You already knew that. The lesson is this: human progress is not a straight line. Roman concrete lasts 2,000 years, and we still can't reproduce it. Greek fire burned on water and vanished with the people who made it. Egyptian mummification techniques have details modern science still hasn't fully understood. And now, Damascus steel, a medieval product made with accidental nanotechnology that humanity lost and doesn't quite know how to recreate. History isn't a neatly organized archive. It's a labyrinth where most of the most important discoveries were buried with the people who made them. The Damascus sword was the weapon of a tyrant, but it was also proof that human beings in any era are capable of things that the future will take centuries to understand. I'm the Traveler, and this is just one more story that time almost erased, but not completely.